than exceptional service. So that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
This is the Happy Hour.
You guys going to happy hour?
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
Brought to you by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome in. Happy Monday. This is the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick Sainert and Rico with you after a holiday weekend. What's up, Rico? Hello. How's the day?
So far, so good. I'm excited.
It's going to be an exciting week in Husker athletics once again. It's obviously headlined by what's going on next Sunday that I definitely want to talk about. And obviously that's going to be Nebraska versus Creighton. Creighton?
I don't know why you say it so weird.
Well, I don't know why I struggle saying it, but you guys all know who Nebraska plays on Sunday. And before we dive into that, I have a lot of thoughts on Nebraska basketball. We're going to talk plenty of Husker football today as well. We'll also be joined by former Nebraska volleyball player Nancy Metcalf at 1:30. So we have a lot of stuff coming up as Nebraska volleyball was the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. That's going to get rolling here in just a few days. Now, when you look at all of this, once again, you guys can chime in the show. 402-464-5685, the Honda Lincoln hotline, and the Starter Heyman text line are both open for you guys the entire show today. By the way, it's feeling like Christmas now, and a big reason
beginning to feel a lot like Christmas.
The reason being, we're decorating our studio, our station today.
Yeah, we are.
And by we, I mean Charlie Proper Interiors.
Not us.
So not us, which is why it looks good. By the way, if you're looking for a way to spice up your home for the holidays, don't make it harder than it needs to be. Nobody gets a space looking better for the holiday season than Charlie Proper Interiors. Nick and Donovan are your go-to interior designers for the holiday season. So fill out the form on their website at charlieproper.design or give them a call at 601-228-2790. Once again, that's Charlie Proper Interiors online at charlieproper.design. There's going to be, we're going to talk a lot about Charlie Proper Interiors because they have done a phenomenal job. You might be able to see them walking in or the camera a little bit behind us. They've decorated our studio. We got a couple trees in front of us.
Yeah, we do.
Here,
There's a cardinal over there.
We have oh, that's right. I didn't even see the bird.
You didn't see the cardinal?
I didn't even see the bird.
There's a cardinal, baby.
But we have a big, nice tree behind us. We have greenery throughout the entire station. So once again, if you don't want to decorate, or if you're frankly like me, don't have any creative touch, but want to spice up your house or your place for the holidays, make sure you contact Charlie Proper Interiors today. Once again, Starter Heyman Jewelers, text line 402-464-5685. Honda Lincoln hotline, same number there. Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo Channel 951.
What would this place look like if we tried to decorate it?
Nothing like the tree
First
that's
off,
out there.
we wouldn't have that big tree, and
yeah,
that looks amazing. Like I saw them, they're taking their time, grabbing each ornament one by one, climbing up the ladder.
They're like
putting it in like the perfect spot. They're perfectly spaced out.
Well, see, I wouldn't even use a ladder. I would just reach as high as I could.
Exactly.
And just say, the other, 8 inches that's at the top. I don't need to decorate.
The back part of my tree at home is never decorated. Well,
really?
when
When
I decorate it, because it's against the wall.
Well, that's why you put it in the corner.
When Rachel decorates it, the whole thing is decorated. It looks gorgeous. But when she's like, "Hey, can you help me with this?" I'm like, "I don't know where to put this," and I just put it somewhere. And she's like, "That's not. Why would you put that there?"
So now here's the thing: is I helped my girlfriend decorate yesterday, and it became, frankly, I would put an ornament on,
and then she would move it,
and then she would go, "Nick, that's not where we want to put it." And I was like, okay, well then why do you want me to help or not?
That's the problem, is you want to help, but then it's just more work because then
it's
they have
just
to
let
move
me
it.
do it. Just let me do it.
Yeah.
I say, okay, fine.
I'm sorry.
I'll go ahead and let you do it. I didn't want to do it in the first place.
Then it's like, why
There's
didn't you?
NFL on. There's college football that was on Saturday. We are going to talk plenty of Husker volleyball because they have a pretty good road. I mean, you hate to look ahead.
It's never easy because the best teams make it into the NCAA tournament. But if you're looking at their side of the bracket as compared to a Wisconsin side of the bracket, it's, again, hard, but not as tough just looking at it.
Well, I mean, you think back to the previous years that Nebraska volleyball and the roads to the Final Four that they've had to endure and work through.
I mean, they had to travel to Louisville and they had to play, either Oregon or Louisville, and neither one of those was very fun.
Yeah.
Ended up losing to Oregon in the Sweet 16, and then Louisville took care of Oregon in the Elite Eight, made it on, lost to Texas in the national championship.
Yeah. So Latex Mallard from MySpace says, why do I think you made up the girlfriend for radio stories? Two things. Rico can back me up. She exists.
She is real.
She is real. Second is all radio stories that we say are true stories.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as radio stories.
I haven't made up a story yet.
I haven't either.
No matter how ridiculous they sound,
they
they're
are
all
stupid.
real.
They are stupid, but here we are. Stupid is as stupid does.
Now, I don't know why she chose Nick, but yeah, no.
I don't know either. She's fine. She's cool.
Hey,
Anyway, she's fine. Anyway, so once again, 402-464-5685. Before we get to former Husker volleyball player Nancy Metcalf at 1:30 here, let's talk a little Husker basketball because I just tweeted this out. I was talking to Austin about it in the back a little bit as well. Sunday is a perfect opportunity for Nebraska and their athletic department to fully involve the fans. And what I mean by that, figure out a way to keep this rivalry alive, hot. Because, and also like part of it is you don't have football anymore. Like men's basketball on top. To on your schedule, right? But here's the thing I would say is when you look at Nebraska basketball, how many times are we able to say, number one, they're undefeated, number two, they are actually good, and then you're coming off of a game last year where you beat them on their home floor. Creighton is not going to want to lose 2 to Nebraska in a row. They're not going to want to lose 2 of their last 3 games on this season.
If you're Nebraska,
and the Creighton's a top 20 team in the country.
I think they dropped down to like 18th,
15th.
15th.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're Nebraska, are you upset that Colorado State beat Creighton? Not because they're not undefeated anymore, but just because, like you said, they're not going to want to lose 2 of their last 3. Like if you're Nebraska, you wanted Creighton to be undefeated. You wanted to be the team that ruined Creighton's undefeated streak and kicked them out of the top 10 in the in the top 25. And they don't want to lose 2 to Nebraska in a row. They don't want to lose 2 of their last 3. If I'm Nebraska, they had enough motivation having lost in Omaha last year. You didn't need to give them extra motivation by holding them under, was it like 30% from 3? Like they shot terrible. Against Colorado State.
They shot terrible. And that's not going to be, a big key for Sunday is going to be defense. And we'll get to the X's and O's and that part of it.
Defense, which Fred is not happy about.
Yeah, Fred Hoiberg said that Nebraska's lost their edge on the defensive side of the floor. But when you look at Nebraska basketball, like I look at Sunday as an opportunity to where, hey, you know what? There's going to be a lot of energy in that arena, rightfully so. There was Sunday against Fullerton, but there's even going to be more on Sunday against Creighton, against the Blue Jays. That Do something as simple as we always talk about it. T-shirts on seats.
Yes.
Make it you're not going to be able to replicate no sit Sunday. You don't also want to replicate no sit Sunday this early in the season. It's going to be your 8th game, right? So like make it a way to where the spectacle from watching at home is awesome, right? Whether that's striping out sections, whether that's putting T-shirts on seats, whatever the case may be. And Fullback Trap says, I absolutely do not care all about all that. Just beat the Blue Jays on Creighton Hate Week and get a quad 1 win and keep it. That's the point though. This all feeds into it.
Yeah,
the whether it's war towels, whatever the case may be, you're not going to be able to replicate no sit Sunday on December 3rd. You don't want to. You don't want to make every big game just no sit Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think of everything that's kind of put into this, last year nobody expected Nebraska to even contend with Creighton. They then went on to on the road to number 3, I believe they were at the time, and dominated them. Derek Walker shut down Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now this year you have a 7-0 start in Fred Hoiberg's best squad from top to bottom. They're legit 10 deep.
Yes.
And you are just on the outside of the top 25, and the Blue Jays are inside the top 20. There's too many good things here that where it sets up so well. And I get that. And Nebraska ball fan says they said that Sunday is a red out. And I know that. But we also know fan bases that just because they say that it's always a red out, there's something special about, hey, you guys, everybody in the entire arena has the option or has the ability to put on the same exact shirt.
Matching shirts.
It has to be, it can be, it looks awesome when the Miami Heat do it in the NBA finals.
It looks fantastic
so
when the Nuggets did it.
Yeah, it looks so cool when Tennessee wears it on football Saturdays. Whatever the case may be, and obviously it all comes down to fans actually putting stuff on. Now, I get that. But the shirts are relatively inexpensive. You don't even have to do it for the 200 and 300 levels. You could really only do it for the 100 levels if you really wanted to cut down on costs, I guess.
But also, how much better would it be? And how much better would it be if everybody has it? And also, like you just said, the shirts are inexpensive.
You get in bulk.
Yeah. What are you doing?
And you're Nebraska.
Do it.
You can also put out the little towels that are like, it just says beat Creighton on them.
Yep.
Like you can do something as simple as that to where everybody just for Sunday, it's something special. It's going to keep the rivalry hot because that's going to get Nebraska fans juiced up, ready to go on Sunday. In addition, that they already are.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make Creighton. Oh my gosh, I'm so self-conscious about it. It's going to make the Blue Jays fans realize like, oh no, like they're going all in.
They're going bananas.
It makes the rivalry hot.
This is the thing.
Keep it alive. Nebraska doesn't have a lot of rivalries.
No, this is the thing with a big game is we all understand that it's a big game. The players understand that it's a big game, but you can get the crowd even more involved than they're going to be by giving them shirts, letting everybody, like you said, having them all match. So it's a great spectacle on television. And, you know, when people take those pictures and they're like, look at everybody wearing red, and like, it gets everyone more involved. It'll be a more raucous and loud environment, and that will help you to beat Creighton.
And that's the thing is like, this isn't a 3-5 or 3-6 or even a 5-3 team that's trying to make the upset of what feels like the century going against your in-state rival. There's too many other things at play here that fit in so well.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska went on the road in their house and beat them last year. Like you could, if you really wanted to have fun with it, you could make a shirt where it says Husker Hoops on the front and on the back, put the score of last year's game and put like the location, CHI Health Center.
There's always the danger that you lose, but it doesn't matter.
It is like, yes, there's the danger that you lose, but there's so much at play here to where, okay, now like we talked about it at football. Well, it's not 90,000. You're looking at like 15,000 here. It's too great of an opportunity to make it an incredible atmosphere, which we already know it's going to be, whether they do participate in this or not, or they offer this or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on top of that, you can elevate it quite a bit by getting the entire crowd on one same page, keeping Blue Jay fans out, I suppose. We were looking at tickets earlier. You can buy them $40 on the secondary market. For at least for like 200 and 300 level. The 100 levels are pretty thin. Like there's a way that Nebraska fans can really benefit here. And like I said, you're 7-0. How often, being realistic, is Nebraska basketball 7-0 and a 7-0 record that you actually feel pretty good about?
It's your first time being 7-0 since, was it 92, 93, somewhere back then. So yeah, how realistic is it for Nebraska to start? Well, it's been a while. So
yeah, so that's my soapbox. That's my soapbox for today.
It's good. You stand on it.
I
stand on it proudly.
I am because this isn't 90,000 that we're talking about. We're
not asking for a whiteout or a blackout or anything. It's a red out.
No.
You're gonna wear red regardless.
Yeah. And I know. Like
Plus,
Nebraska
who doesn't need another red shirt?
Yeah, and that's also like a souvenir. Like if you want to do the whole towel thing, that's great. I'm fine with war towels. That's fine.
If you're gonna get, I have a problem with towels because nobody ever does it correctly.
Okay.
You gotta have like everybody's waving them back and forth at the same time or spinning them at the same.
I would say spinning them. at the same time.
Either one. I mean, you've seen a couple. Was it Penn State when they do the whiteout? They all have the pom poms.
Yep.
And they're just like waving it back
Saturday
and forth.
With the Iron Bowl with Auburn.
Like it's electric when everybody's on the same page and knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
But if you don't do it very often,
so I hope somebody at the university is listening.
I know they are. I know they are. I know you are. Talking to you.
I hope so.
Person.
Because and like that's what I'm saying. This is not like a knock or anything. Like this is like Nebraska basketball. Oh, one more thing while I'm on the soapbox. Do a putt for a Porsche. You gotta do a putt for a Porsche.
Oh, that's a putt for a Porsche and the half court shot. Those are the two things you do at halftime.
You have to.
And that will get, if somebody makes either one of those, the crowd's electric. It doesn't matter if Nebraska is up or down. The crowd's going wild.
The crowd's going wild. And they've done, when I've been there, they've done the putt 3 times. 2 times guys have gotten very close. Very close. The hole is the exact size of the golf ball.
That's a tough one.
And so it's very, I mean, you're winning a car.
Yeah.
You're winning a Porsche. I get it. But we got a text. How about focus on the game? Go Big Red. Well,
the players and the coaches
game.
are going to focus on the game. The fans don't have to. We don't have to. I mean, we kind of do, but the fans don't have to focus on the game. You have to focus on being as loud and as rowdy as possible.
I just think,
why does everybody
Nebraska's 7-0. They're receiving votes. As stupid as that sounds, I mean, this is a program. Fred Hoiberg's won less than 40% of his games.
It's not great.
Going into the season, because of whatever reasons. Nebraska has a really, really fun basketball team to watch this season. They've beaten everybody they needed to beat on their schedule. This is a really important stretch coming up for the Husker basketball team. You have Creighton, you have what's it called? At Minnesota, Michigan State at home, and then on the road at Kansas State. Like, you have an opportunity here to really just continue to invigorate life into this fan base.
Big stretch.
And Nebraska fans are going to learn a lot about their team. Nebraska coaches are going to learn a lot about their program come Saturday against, by the way, your in-state rival after your football season just ended a week and a half before, and you did not make postseason play for that one. So, like, you talk about trying to just continue to inject life and energy into the fan base. Here you go. Starts on Sunday. Starts in the NCAA women's volleyball tournament as well. We're going to break down Nebraska's number 1 overall ranking number 1 overall seed in the women's volleyball tournament coming up next with former Husker Nancy Metcalf right here on the Happy Hour 93.7 The Ticket.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive. Always honest answers.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top shelf liquor to crowd favorite beer, Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
At Koppel Chevrolet GMC, we are thankful for so many things this year, starting with our great employees, a generous community, our military personnel, and most importantly, our loyal customer base that continues to drive that money-saving mile of Louisville. Hi, this is Sean Callahan, and on behalf of everybody at Koppel, we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels to wherever they may take you. Happy holidays from Koppel Chevrolet GMC.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Vershawn Jackson for Brant Excavating. Brant's been in business for 29 years, and they specialize in a variety of things. If you're looking for someone to get the job done in precision demolition, excavating, trucking, mass grading, and site prep, Brant is the place to call. To set up a quote or learn more, call Brant Excavating at 402-474-4113 or go to BrantExcavating.com. They're also hiring, so join the team today. Brant Excavating, a part of the Bauer brand, who reminds you, go Big Red!
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. But there are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Problem gambling is not just a financial issue. It's an emotional problem with financial consequences. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just the professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at PAHLincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
This isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?
What do you mean?
Did Caesar live here?
No.
I didn't think so.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. We've talked basketball, we've talked a little bit of football, but now Nebraska Volleyball, the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament, and who better to talk to about Nebraska Volleyball than one of Nebraska Volleyball's best, Nancy Metcalf, as she joins us here on 93.7 The Ticket. Nancy, how are you doing?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We are doing fantastic. We've just been sitting through this entire season waiting for Nebraska to get to #1 and then waiting for them to get that #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They finally did it, even with a loss to Wisconsin on Black Friday. They remain the #1 overall seed. and get to host all the way through the Elite Eight in volleyball.
Yes, that is super exciting. It's tough to do. The season's really long. The Big Ten is really tough, so it's pretty exciting that they were able to do that.
Now, Nancy, you were with Nebraska Volleyball back in 1997 all the way through 2001. You were there with Terry Pettit and through the transition to John Cook. Can you let us know what that transition was kind of like?
Yeah. So when I signed up and came out to Nebraska, Coach Pettit was the head coach, and he is more of an introverted person. He's a deep thinker. He's a philosopher. But he had always had a vision for Nebraska volleyball. And after the fact, after it happened, he told us he knew he wanted John to come back in and take over for him. And he felt like that was the best timing for him to leave. So at the end of my sophomore year, they ended up getting John to agree to come on as an associate head coach for my junior year. And then John took over as the head coach my fourth year, which ended up being a redshirt year for me in 2000. And so Coach Pettit sat the team down, at the end of my junior year and just said, I'm stepping away. John's going to take over as the head coach. And, he said, this is not something that was an easy decision or just kind of a fly by the seat of your pants type thing. He said, we really thought about this, and this is very intentional the way we're doing it. He wanted someone that he felt like was capable of leading the program and continuing to lead the program to new heights, which John has obviously done a fantastic job doing that.
Now, how have you seen John Cook? He took over in 2000. How have you seen him change in his coaching style or his demeanor since he first took over? I mean, he's got 10 NCAA semifinal appearances, 9 Big 12 titles, 3 Big 10 championships, 4 national titles. I mean, did you see maybe that happening with him when he first took over? Has he just grown and exceeded your expectations?
I'm not sure that I had any set expectations for him. I knew he was a really good coach. And when Coach Pettit gives somebody a stamp of approval, that means something. And so I feel like when Coach Cook took over, all the girls had complete trust and faith that he was going to be a great coach and lead our program in the right direction and just be really the right person for that job, which I think he definitely has been. I think his coaching style has changed a little bit over the years. I don't think he takes himself quite as seriously. He likes to joke around. He's always been more of an extrovert type person. So he's always, checking in with the team. How are you girls doing? What's going on? How's, your boyfriend? He might talk to somebody and ask how they're doing, personal life type stuff. But it's all because he's such a relationship person. And I think in a sport like volleyball, where it's a team sport and you have to have that relationship with your teammates, it's invaluable to have that relationship with your coach as well. So I just think he's a great fit for that job.
Nancy, from a volleyball player's standpoint, obviously, like as fans, we see from afar, we have that 5,000-foot view of they've won this number of games, they've won this many championships, they've had this kind of success. How special, as from a volleyball player standpoint like yourself, how special has what John Cook been able to do? Is it? I mean, how incredible is this career that John Cook has been able to have in Nebraska?
Well, I think it is really incredible just because he hasn't just had success, but he's had longevity in that success. To be able to do that year after year after year, when most teams would say, okay, this is going to be a rebuilding year because we lost a lot of talent.
Yeah.
He has, found a way to get the most out of the players he has, and somehow it ends up being another great year, even though it's supposed to be a rebuilding year. And so I think this has been, a really special program as an alumni, but also just as a volleyball fan to watch through the years and the way that they've continued to have success. Not just kind of a flash in the pan type thing, but continued ongoing success.
We're speaking with Nancy Metcalf, former Nebraska volleyball player and Nebraska Hall of Famer, actually. And Nancy, this season, Nebraska volleyball has struggled on the road in the Big Ten, at least in conference play, quite mightily. They've come out on top all of the times except for the one on the road at Wisconsin, but every road match seems to have its ups and downs, and a lot more downs until the very end when they come out on top. But how important is it for Nebraska to be hosting all the way through the Elite Eight and be able to play at the Bob Devaney Sports Complex and not have to go on the road to face any of those top tier teams?
Well, I think it's a huge benefit to be able to be at home. You don't have the travel schedule. You're not sleeping in a strange place. You're not on a weird schedule during the day. When you're playing at home, it's much more comfortable for the players. But I think one of the most cool parts about this team is how they, even when they were struggling, and road matches, I think, are a tribute to how tough the Big Ten is. Even a middle of the road Big Ten team can play you really tough. And so I think that's more of a tribute to the teams and the strength of the schedule for road matches in the Big Ten. But I do think that this team, even through those challenges, has just found a way in some matches where people counted them out. They thought it was done and over, and they found a way to claw their way back into it and then come out on top. I think that's a huge testament to just the grit of this team, and I love seeing that. I love seeing how the players pull together and just maybe someone's having an off night doing one skill, but the other team members are able to gather around them and kind of prop them up and support them through that, and they find a way to win, which is super exciting to see.
You spoke about how some people believe that this was supposed to be a rebuilding year for Coach Cook and for this volleyball squad, and no seniors and some freshmen playing in some very prominent roles. With your experience, being in the record books for kills and kills during a season and sets, how impressive has it been for Nebraska's outside hitters, Harper Murray, Merritt Beeson, Allie Batenhorst? How impressive has it been for them to be stepping up the way that they have been, to take Nebraska from always having a solid defense to now this year being one of the leaders on the offensive end?
Well, I think all three of them have done a great job, and Lindsey Krause as well. She hasn't played the second half of the season for an injury, but all of our outsides have done a really great job of taking really smart swings pretty consistently. And when you're getting a lot of balls dug up by your defense, if your hitters can take smart swings and keep the ball in play, a lot of times it can frustrate the other side because they might hit a ball that they think is for sure going to be a point, and then Lexi Rodriguez or Lainey Chaboy digs it up, and that frustrates their hitters. And if we just keep it in play, a lot of times you can extend the rallies, and that gives our team a chance to get back in system and take great swings on in-tempo sets.
We're speaking with Nancy Metcalf, former Nebraska volleyball player. And, speaking on those outside hitters, you've got two of them playing all six rotations in Merritt Beeson and Harper Murray. Watching those back row attacks and Nebraska being one of the leaders, if not the leader in getting kills out of the back row, is that something that you did very often, or is that something new that you're noticing in the volleyball world, and something that how impressive is that to you?
I think we did it some while I was at Nebraska, but we did it a lot internationally when I was playing after college. And I think that is kind of what Coach Cook is trying to emulate, is the international game. Because if you can get somebody coming out of the back row to hit, that just gives your setter one more option, and it makes the block have one more person to have to think about, which can hopefully give your hitter just that little spacing between the blockers if they're a little bit late because they were worried about the back row attacker. But no, Nebraska is doing a great job using their back row attack, and I love to see it. I think that just gives us another look when things aren't going right. If you're out of system, it's a set that the setter can get the ball to a lot easier. And when they're in system, it gives them one more option to be worried about from the blocking standpoint.
Nancy, have you looked at Nebraska's side of the bracket?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Vaguely. I think we got a good bracket. I like the way it fell out.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
I was going to ask you how excited were you to see that Nebraska and Wisconsin were on opposite sides of the bracket, so that hopefully, if all things fall correctly, they'll match up in the championship match.
I am excited, but more excited as a fan of volleyball than because of Wisconsin having beaten us. I'm confident that our team can beat Wisconsin. I think if we both play our best, we can beat them the next time we match up. And I think the first time we matched up, Nebraska played well. I didn't think they played as well in Madison. And Wisconsin played out of their minds. They played a great match. And so I think we can beat them if we match up again. But I like having a team like that opposite, so that if they do meet up, it's in a Final Four setting, possibly a national championship setting, which is where it should be. I think they're two of the best teams in the country, and they should be matching up, late in the tournament.
Nancy, when you look at Nebraska and Wisconsin, I mean, those two programs are so easy to talk about because obviously they play two matches a year. When you look at those two teams from a volleyball perspective, how much separation is there between those two programs? Because it feels like on any given day, Nebraska could have that Wisconsin type performance we saw last week that the Badgers had in Madison. And it just feels like whoever's going to get ready that day, it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of, number one, margin for error, but then also separation, because they are just so good and so talented as an entire program from top to bottom.
That's really true. They are really talented, and they're a fun program to watch. I actually got to go to the match in Madison with my daughter and some friends and their girls. And I was just sitting there watching. I thought, man, this team is really good. And I think Nebraska has that capability. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't think Nebraska played their best match in Madison. And so, hopefully they have another chance to redeem themselves and match up against Wisconsin again at some point. But you're right. There's not a lot of separation. And in a sport like this, that's good to see. There shouldn't be this huge separation between when you get the top teams. There's not a huge margin for error. And that's what makes it so exciting, is that you can't go out and play a bad match and expect to win against a good team. And so it's challenging for a player, but that's what the players live for. That's the fun of it, is having those awesome, exciting matches against these really tough opponents and knowing you're both just going to go out there and battle it out to the end.
Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for coming on and joining us and talking Nebraska volleyball. We're going to get you out of here, and we're going to head to a break. Again, thank you so much for joining us. You bet. Thanks for having me. Go Big Red.
There it is. Nancy Metcalf, former Husker, former USA volleyball player as well. Appreciate her joining us. She played 12 years for the national team, USA, from 2000 to 2012. Obviously,
she redshirted in 2000
played for the Huskers,
to play for Team USA.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff there. I find that fascinating, the separation, because we talk about it in college football all the time, and I hate to bring stuff always back to CF, for college football, but like we've talked about it, how much separation is there from the past, like Alabama teams, and then like everybody else, right? Or it was like Alabama, Clemson versus the field. We always hear about it come NCAA basketball tournament time as well, like Purdue against the field. And obviously it doesn't end up sometimes playing out that way. But this really feels like, as we enter the volleyball tournament, Nebraska and Wisconsin versus the field, because those two teams and programs, despite Wisconsin having a couple more losses than the Huskers, just feel like they've been far and above and just so much more complete than every other program consistently.
I mean, Nebraska started the season at number 5, but it became pretty clear, especially after they took down Stanford in Palo Alto, that Nebraska and Wisconsin were the two best teams in the country.
Yeah.
And it was just waiting for that matchup between the two of them in Lincoln for the first time. Nebraska takes them down in 5 sets. And then again, it was just waiting for that matchup in Wisconsin for those two teams to meet up. And unfortunately, Wisconsin lost 2 matches in between there. Again, still a big matchup, and Nebraska ends up getting swept. But those two teams from start to finish have just shown how much better than everybody else they are.
Yeah, it was good. Really good conversation. If you missed any of that, make sure you head over to the podcast page, theticketfm.com. One thing I do want to talk about, when Austin and I believe Strick's here, but for sure Austin, when they come in for the crossover here, David Tepper's situation with the Carolina Panthers, because
is he the owner?
He is the owner.
Okay.
How about this? He took over and he bought the Panthers following an 11-5 season and a playoff appearance. That was in 2018. Since then, the team is 30-63 overall. They have traded a lot of people. They have fired a lot of coaches. David Tepper, I believe I read, is about to hire his 7th coach.
Jeez.
Since, once again, 2018. About to be interesting times.
That was when they were
Carolina.
forced to sell, or their owner was forced to sell because of all the stuff that was happening.
So there's a lot to get to. I want to get as a Colts fan. Obviously, Frank Reich was relieved of his duties earlier today. I want to get Austin Orman's thoughts on the Carolina Panthers, and obviously if Strick's here too, his as well. As we get you ready for On the Block with Strick and Austin, coming up next as we wrap it up on a Monday on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the happy hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Join DP and Jay Foreman on Monday, November 27th at Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill from 4 to 6 p.m. They'll wrap up the regular season with Husker Online Sean Callahan and preview the month ahead. That's Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Tanner's at 30th and Yankee Hill.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day, because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone, and here with me is Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, I know the new Honda sales are going really good right now at Honda of Lincoln. And with that, a lot of fresh trade-ins are coming in. Can you tell our listeners about your pre-owned selection?
I'm happy to, Charlie. Like you said, with new Honda sales going very good, we have a lot of fresh trade-ins coming in daily. And not just Hondas. We have just about every maker model you can imagine, with over 100 pre-owned and certified pre-owned to choose from, and prices starting at just $5,900.
Wow, what about financing?
We have financing as low as 3.29% APR on certified Accords and CRV.
Thanks again, Andy. People love the selection and great service at Honda of Lincoln. Maybe it's time you come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. But there are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? At Warhorse Sportsbook, their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino in Lincoln or Horseman's Park in Omaha, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
If your car has sent you to the sidelines, Eustace Body Shop can help. With gold-class certified technicians, OEM parts, and free loaner cars, Eustace Body Shop is your best choice this Husker season. And with 6 locations across central and eastern Nebraska, we've got you covered, whether you're rooting at home or you're headed to Memorial Stadium. Get a free online quote at EustaceBodyShop.com, and let's get you back in the game.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solutions. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty.
Constructors Inc., a Nebco company, is now hiring heavy equipment mechanics to maintain fleet equipment and vehicle operations. Constructors offers mechanics a competitive salary, 4-day work weeks with overtime options, a $5,000 hiring bonus, a tool allowance, and great benefits. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. Apply today for their mechanic positions. Visit constructorslincoln.com.
This is Rick Heyman from Sartor Heyman Jewelers, inviting you to our new outlet jewelry store at 12th and O in downtown Lincoln. Amazingly, we still have fabulous items we bought 1 year ago and beyond. Well, you know what an outlet store is. Unbeatable prices throughout the store. Closeouts up to 70% off. Don't delay. When it's gone, it's gone. You won't see everything on our website, so you gotta come in. The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Opening November 25th in Lincoln at 12th and O.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
The Lincoln forecast for today, expecting increasing cloud cover throughout the day. It'll be a little bit breezy as well. We'll see a high of around 43. Tonight, mainly clear skies are expected with a low of around 19. And tomorrow, most sunny skies will return. We'll see a high of around 46. I'm meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert.
I vomited last night.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
I literally vomited. I threw up.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the Happy Hour. 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. 93.7 The Ticket. Nick, Rico, and now Austin with you guys. Once again, Austin, did you see outside? Did you see outside in our little lobby?
Yeah, I see
Not
Christmas
little.
trees.
Yeah, how about that?
It's wonderful. It's after
proper,
Thanksgiving,
exactly.
so
they
Christmas
got the things
is
hanging
here.
down.
Yeah.
They got the ornaments hanging down from the ceiling.
Mhm.
They look like planets.
I would have never thought about that.
I wouldn't have either.
It's incredible.
Took self-control to not reach up and touch them.
I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, we can't be dunking on the ornaments.
No,
But
I wasn't thinking about that, and now that's all I'm going to be thinking about.
see, yeah, we can't be dunking on the ornaments, but from all of us here at 93.7 The Ticket, we'd like to give a huge shout out to Charlie Proper Interiors for making our 93.7 The Ticket studio ready for the Christmas season. Nick and Donovan came in, decorated our entire station for help with greenery, trees, lights, ornaments, and more. Don't look anywhere else but to Charlie Proper Interiors online at charlieproper.design. All right, Austin, let's start with Mike Elko and Texas A&M, because there's a lot of news obviously today in terms of coaches and situations and firings and hirings. Where, if you had to give it a letter grade, where's the Mike Elko hire for you?
The hire itself is a B. The process itself is a you flunked, go repeat kindergarten.
I agree.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. Oh, so, and here's where I kind of land with it. Mike Elko's a very good coach, right? He took a Duke team that was kind of in the doldrums, right? And went 16-9, I believe.
Yep, 9-4 last year,
yeah.
and 7-5 with injuries this year.
Yeah, with Riley Leonard, with Riley Leonard being out for extended period of time. So you look at that and you kind of you hang your hat on that. Obviously, it got him a pretty big. I mean, that's a heck of a step up. I'll be honest. Like that's a major step up for Mike Elko, who the more I've read about behind the scenes is why he handles his business behind the scenes, which is a big deal. At a big time job like this, right? Texas A&M isn't Duke. It's not going to be even like another Power 5 big name program, because you have a lot of people in terms of alumni, boosters, board members that want to know what's going on. Yeah, that want to know what's going on. There's a lot of other circumstances and people involved in you being the head coach than in a lot of other places, right? Like if you think about it here, Matt Rule has a lot of control, has if not all control. On terms of says on what's allowed, what's not allowed, how he runs his program, how he doesn't want to do things, how he does want to do stuff. Those things matter to a head coach because it can make your job a lot easier, I think. And a lot of times coaches can be control freaks, right? But then also at Texas A&M, though, that's not the case. That is not the case at all.
There were a couple stories that came out about A&M, the Elko hire specifically. When he was at A&M, everyone that I have read says that the defensive side of the ball under Mike Elko was well run. It was organized. Players like to be there. And the offensive side was just kind of whatever. Jimbo's the control freak. He's in charge, his way or the highway. It didn't sound like that was Elko's MO. I don't want to say it's an underwhelming hire because it's a familiar one. It can't be the swing that A&M wanted. Even Mark Stoops, I think, would have been a good hire. And if A&M was really confident in it, they wouldn't have, again, allowed the perception to be that the fans talked them out of making that hire and making that offer. But to your point on Nebraska, missing out on a bowl game, sure you guys talked about that. We'll keep talking about it here. If Matt Rule does have this much control, where does that end? Where does that stop? If Nebraska continues to not go to bowl games, when do more outside voices want more of a say? Because there's a very, 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 very fine line between relying on the resources that you have around you to help you be successful to understand and having too many cooks in the kitchen, people whose job it isn't trying to have a say.
It is fascinating when we talk about resources, and I don't want to try to get off topic here. We're hearing a lot of coaches talk about how they don't have resources, how they don't have enough, right? They're asking for more money with NIL. They're asking,
Scoops was one of them.
I find it, and I don't have an answer to this. Nobody does right now. I wonder when all that is going to be, we don't care. Do your job.
We've given you this much. Figure it out.
Because if you continue to have coaches after coaches after coaches continuing to ask for more, at some point wells are going to run dry. And if the results on the field aren't up to par or up to standard, the well is going to run dry even quicker. So I find it fascinating because, and I'm sure I'm not saying that the coaches are just asking for more money for NIL funds, for resources, whatever the case may be, because they already have enough and they want more. I bet they really do need more. I bet they really feel like they do need more. I think 90% of college football fans don't really realize how much they need. I mean, there's a lot. So, and that's not a knock. That's just, we're not all educated to the extent that these guys are living in it on a daily basis. So when you hear Dion come out and be like, hey, yeah, we need more giving. And you hear Mark Stoops and you hear, frankly, Matt Rule last week or 2 weeks ago say, you can't spend middle of the road and then expect to compete for championships. He meant that obviously about Tony White at the time, but same kind of principle can be talked about when you're talking about NIL and collectives. Like, this is why all those need to be buttoned up, organized, and
efficient and productive.
Efficient.
You know, they have to bring money in. And this is where I think a lot of the reason we see coaches make the jump from group of 5 teams to power 5 teams is the resources. But we all know that there's some stratification among power 5 jobs.
Yeah.
What are the career ending jobs? What are the destination jobs? We know there's a difference there. And I think it's just a natural human tendency to want more, to say I could do more with more. So yeah, that's always going to be there. But I do think too, there needs to be an element in college sports, especially from administrators, to say, this is what we can realistically do. We need you to see the big picture here, why we can't give you any more. If you are successful with what you have, what we are able to give you, you earn the right to get more. We will do our best to fundraise and provide more for you, but you have to first prove you can be successful at the level we expect with what we can do right now.
Yeah, there's a line between wanting more to do more and not doing enough with what you have.
Yes.
Because there are some teams out there who you have a decent amount of funding, you have a decent amount of money, and you're still not competing at the level that maybe your funding is possibly allowing you to do. And I guess one of my questions is, some of these coaches, again, not all of them, but some of these coaches, is them saying, look, we need more so that we can do this, maybe a play at some bigger schools where it's like, hey, I've done this with this amount of funding and whatever. If you are to reach out to me and we can get this going and we can get the ball rolling, I go there, I have more resources. You've seen what I can do here. Here's what I can do with all that.
The perfect example is Texas A&M. I mean, let's be honest. The perfect example is the ones that the program we're talking about, where they pay so much money, and we know, and they were public about it, which is fine. I'm all for transparency. I would have no issue if we knew what every single college football player was making. I'd have zero issue with that. Now I think also though, you look at Texas A&M, they were public and open and upfront about, hey, we need this amount because we need to pay the offensive line this number. We need to pay this group this number. And I'm fine with that. But that opens the door for, okay, they're not producing, $50,000 efforts.
Yeah,
Why
they're
would
not
we give
producing
you
this?
$100,000 efforts? And so I see where it's a tough situation to kind of take part in. Now you look at Nebraska, or not Nebraska, but you look at other jobs and going back to Mike Elko here, if he's able to do what he did at Duke to a certain extent at A&M, that's him as a coach. Then you add in the upgraded resources, the additional resources, just the larger resource pool, whether that's assistant salary and the pool there, whether that's obviously like facilities and the material things. Now you could talk about elevating a program. And this is where I think we all get, myself included, because my first reaction was, man, this wasn't the splash hire that frankly Texas A&M probably wanted to have.
I really like the hire.
Like sit here at Nebraska, like we wanted a splash hire, and some people may not have thought Matt Rule was a splash hire, but I think the response to it is, if he does his job, which Mike Elko has shown to do through his first 2 years of a head coach, then you don't need the splash hire. Jimbo was the splash hire. You look at the way, before I get your thoughts, Austin, you look at the way they both entered College Station. Jimbo entered at this extravagant thing on the tarmac. There were bands, there was cheerleaders, there were everything, because it's this big national championship winning coach coming to A&M. Mike Elko arrived at 2 a.m. this morning on a dark lit tarmac, no cheerleaders, no coaches, no players, nothing. It was just the AD and Mike Elko and his family. And that was it. So it feels like they're kind of taking a different approach this time around, which is probably for the best.
And I would love to know Mike Elko's thoughts on this. Obviously, he accepted the job. He's happy to be back. It's a step up on the surface. Absolutely. Mike Elko's a competitor. He told you as much by taking this job, because he could have been the next Mark Stoops.
Yeah.
Defensive-minded guy at a basketball school, get to a bowl game 3 or 4 out of every 5 years. Hey, you're set for life.
This is good.
You're
enough.
not going anywhere. But having been at Texas A&M, again, I don't think he's, butthurt by this at all. He just got hired to be their head coach. So if there are any, sour grapes, he wouldn't have taken the job. But where's his head at? Like, I'm your third public option, probably further down the list than that for calls you made. I don't get all this despite the really good work I did before. I wouldn't be shocked if Mike Elko, doesn't, have it out for the fan base or anything, but comes in with a chip on his shoulder. Like, okay, you guys are kind of writing me off. I'm not the guy you expected or the guy that was tops on your list. I'm going to show you what I got. I'm the right guy for this job. And I think that's healthy for him to have. And I think that can only be good for A&M.
Now, would his animosity be more towards the decision makers and all of those people in power? Because the fan base, you saw when they were going to hire Mark Stoops, or allegedly going to hire Mark Stoops, the fan base was not happy about it. And then you heard the Mike Elko hire. And I mean, obviously there are some, but for the most part, it looked pretty positive when they were bringing Mike Elko. Again, a guy who's been there before, a guy who they're pretty familiar with. They like the Mike Elko hire. And again, it, like Nick said, like you both said already, it's not the complete opposite, but it is very different from Jimbo Fisher. You get the big name, the national champion head coach, and now you're like, look, we have a guy who's been here, who was really solid at the school he was at. We're going to bring him in, and he's just going to come here and he's going to do his job. He's not going to be flashy. He's not going to call out Nick Saban for paying players. Nick Saban's not going to call him out for paying players.
Imagine if he does, though.
It's just going to be him here with a good defense and some 5-star players, because we're Texas A&M, and that's what we get.
Now, another university that made a hire, Michigan State.
Got your boy.
Nick loves this hire. We have a group chat. I sent the little thing with Jonathan Smith getting the job, and I go, so Nick, how you doing? And Nick's feeling some type of way.
I really appreciate Jonathan Smith, and this is how I've watched obviously him from afar, and I'm excited that he's in the Big Ten now, because I think what he does fits the Big Ten. I think it also fits a school like a university like Michigan State for the situation they're in. And here's why. He was hired in 2018, first time head coach for basically next to nothing, a little over $1.5 million. That's where, and that's not a whole lot for a Power 5 university to coach at a Power 5 conference, right? Pac-12 was still alive and somewhat well at that point. Oregon State was not.
Ripped to the Pac-12.
And so, and that's another thing from a stability standpoint, you understand why Jonathan Smith would take this job in a heartbeat. He was also an Oregon State alum. I mean, that's where he played. He was his Oregon State alma mater. So you look at Jonathan Smith, though, he ends up getting an extension. I believe in 2020, they signed him to an extension. He led Oregon State to the Beavers' first 10-win season since 2006, which is something impressive, right?
Who's Oregon State's coach back then?
Shout out to Mike Riley.
Mike Riley. There it is. But no, I mean, you look at he was able to attract DJ Uiagalelei. He was able to get some better transfers and some really good talent for that Oregon State Beavers team.
Shout out to Tyjon.
Here's why he had two assistants who are finalists for the Broyles Award throughout his time. Finalists, not just quarterfinal, not just semi,
not just mentioned.
Ryan Grubb was snubbed today, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, but you look at Jonathan Smith now at Michigan State. Why would he go? Obviously, the money, stability for the Big Ten Conference, not having to play in the Mountain West. But Michigan State has also, they needed to find a guy to basically just grind it out and put their head down and work. And that's what Jonathan Smith has had to do his entire time at Oregon State. He figured out a way to make them a top 20 team week in and week out. This is the big part too. And I was talking to a friend of the show, Steve Mark of Inside Nebraska, and he's the one who kind of pointed this out. Like, he's used to being little brother. And Michigan State's going to be little brother. They're never going to be able to compete against Michigan. You're going to have to figure out a way to stabilize your program going into this real questionable and just different looking Big Ten conference. Now, Jonathan Smith has been used to just putting his head down, working quietly behind the scenes, not being all flashy about it, and for going up against Oregon each year. Now, did he beat Oregon? Did they put up a really good effort? Not really, but he's been shown time and time again to be able to develop players, which is big. Part of that's because of his assistant coaches, the offensive line coach and the tight ends coach, really, really talented. He also has a larger assistant salary pool than Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker had a $7.5 million pool for assistants.
That's a lot of money.
Now it's not, I haven't read a confirmed amount, a larger pool to basically negotiate with assistants. That's a big deal.
I mean, he's bringing most of his assistants from Oregon State.
He is. But that's a really big deal. One of the assistants, by the way, that he's not bringing, Trent Bray, former Nebraska linebackers coach who came from Oregon State, left Nebraska, went instantly back to Oregon State, has been there ever since. And that's one of the assistants that he is not bringing and one of the guys, because he was the interim head coach when Mike Riley got fired. So that's one of the guys that watch out for that Oregon State job.
Yeah, it's rumored for him.
Oregon State hired internally. They hired Jonathan Smith, obviously, back in 2018 when Gary Anderson stepped down. And that's going to be maybe a way that Oregon State needs to go again.
Speaking of former Nebraska coaches, were y'all watching any of Florida State?
I was.
No,
I was not.
John Papuchis, former Nebraska defensive coordinator, now the defensive ends and special teams coach at Florida, went from hero to zero through no fault of his own in the span of about 90 seconds of real time, but 0 seconds of game time.
Oh, no.
Florida State has a punt from like its own 25-yard line, 4th and 6. They dial up a fake. They get 31 yards on it.
Wow.
So well done, John Papuchis, except delay a game. The ball was being hiked as the ref blew the whistle. So they blow it dead. Snap comes for the punt. They actually punt it this time. Get about a fraction of an inch from being blocked, and the punter boots it 8 rows into the family section for an 18-yard punt.
Oh, no.
And the camera just panned to Papuchis, and they're like, oh, John.
They said, there he
don't
is.
have Bo yelling at you now.
They said, this is the man who dialed both of those up.
Oh, no, that's a shame.
That's rough.
Felt a little bad for John Papuchis in that moment.
Man.
That's really too bad. Tomorrow on the show, we'll just go ahead and tease it right now. Tomorrow on the show, I definitely want to talk about Nebraska and their quarterback decision that looms.
I'm so excited for this off season and just
I have an idea for quarterbacks, coach.
Just tracking.
You do. Let
transfer portal.
Let the folks know.
Yeah.
Again, this isn't going to happen, but I'm just going to throw it out into the universe just for fun. Let's just say there was a recently fired Carolina Panthers head coach who wanted to join forces with another recently fired Carolina Panthers head coach.
You're ridiculous.
Both wear red, reside in Lincoln, and coach in Nebraska.
There you go. Perfect.
I'm just going to let everyone else connect the dots. That's my idea.
That's how it's going to be.
You're ridiculous. I love it.
I am.
Speaking of quarterbacks and the transfer portal, Caton Hauser. There you go. Caton Hauser from Michigan State has entered the portal. I want to have this conversation, and it's a slippery slope because like our entire goal is not to come across disrespectful or, frankly, like placing blame specifically on quarterbacks, because as bad as the quarterback situation was, I don't need to be sitting behind the microphone telling you guys like there was a lot more that was wrong with it, right? So I think when you look at Nebraska football, I want to have the conversation tomorrow about how important and how crucial selecting the right QB is for Matt Rule in year 2, specifically Nebraska focused, because, and we can just brief it kind of here, like you can't get the decision wrong 2 years in a row. Nebraska missed badly in year 1. Okay. It's over. It's in the past.
Wipe the slate clean.
Right? You can move on from that as long as you get it right in year 2. If Nebraska misses at all in year 2 with the quarterback position, it's about to get really, really uncomfortable, because we saw how frankly, important it is to have a quarterback that you trust, that can take care of the football, has a high IQ. We know all the characteristics. It's going to get real interesting if Nebraska misses on a quarterback. There's going to be plenty of options. They just have to figure out a way to hit on a quarterback in this offseason.
It is not Dylan Raiola or bust, 3880. Good try.
Unfortunately not. You
do not want to start a freshman quarterback.
Like, that's the thing. It's not like we also used to look down on transfer portal. Like, look at the top 10 teams. 7 or 8 of the teams have an experienced transfer portal guy. Michael Penix transfer, Bo Nix transfer. We're out of here. On the block, Stricken Austin coming up next. Join us tomorrow.
Adios, Bo Nix Heisman.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you